Right. Hey, folks. Apologies for the delay here. Just a little bit of back and forth that happened with the live stream, but we are all sorted over here. So, without further delay, let's quickly get started. So, I'm Aniket, and we are really excited to bring the Gen AI Exchange Hackathon by Google to you. And this is supported by Meti Startup Hub and Startup India. And today we have an amazing workshop lined up for us. I will be like getting to that shortly, but before that, we'll just quickly talk about what is there in the hackathon. So, Gen AI Exchange Hackathon, we have released the problem statements. If we can go to the next slide. Yeah. So as you can see, like the problem statements for the hackathon has already been released. It's been there for a while, and the building period is starting very, very shortly. So here is where you can find all the. This is the exact link where you can find all the challenges, essentially the problem statements that have been provided thanks to our partners. And we are also very excited to see what solutions you would be bringing about. So you can quickly, if you're on your laptop, you can just quickly scan this QR code to have the link handy, or if you're on your phone, you can just quickly take a screenshot and save this for later. Otherwise, you can always just go to devfolio.co slash google dash gen AI exchange and find all the details. So if we can go to the next slide, we can also see that if you haven't signed up for the hackathon, this is where you can do it. This is the QR code. If you have not already registered for the hackathon, we can give you a few seconds to kind of scan this QR code and head to the website. Again, the website is deffolio.co slash google dash gen AI exchange. We will also just drop it in the chat so that it's easy for you to kind of sign up for this hackathon. Cool. I think we can move on to the workshop. So let's bring Pranay onto the stage. Hey, Pranay, can you hear us?
Uh, yes, hi everyone.
Hey, Pranay. So just to quickly introduce, we have Pranay Nanda with us, who is the customer engineer at Google. And for today's workshop, Pranay will help you get started with your hackathon project and make the most of the resources that is at your disposal, the resources that you can check on the Get Started Here page on the hackathon. And we will be talking about Gemini API Key, Google AI Studio, Vertex AI, Google Cloud, and much more. And you will also explore how to leverage these powerful tools to build scalable and impactful AI solutions. So yeah, without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Pranay. Thanks.
Sure, thanks. Uh, can one of the hosts? So that I'm presenting a screen. Okay, yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Hi everyone. I'm Pranay. I'm a customer engineer with Google. Uh, we'll get started. I think we're already running late. So if all of you could just go to this QR code, right, just to get started, just go to this QR code. This will take you to this web page called aistudio.google.com, which is Google AI Studio. uh, and most of our work will be on that screen. We'll give it about 2 minutes for everyone to go to the link, uh, and from there we'll begin. We'll just keep this on hold for a while. Cool. I hope everyone's done this. All right, we'll get started. Uh, I hope everyone is now on this screen, right? You'll be on a screen that looks like this. Okay. This is Google's AI Studio. It is the most developer-friendly option to get started with building Gen AI apps using Google's foundation models, such as Gemini Pro and Gemini Flash. Uh, when you're on a screen like this, you can either start exploring here. Okay, before we get there, I just want to make a differentiation. This is specifically tuned for developers. There's another portal called gemini.google.com that you can use to do your regular work, interact with the model. It can help you with iterations, it can help you with uh, ideation, it can help you with itineraries, it can help you with, say, uh, your code, right? But the moment, let's say, you want to build as a developer, you want to build something in Gemini, you want to build something in your app as a developer, this is the most friendly way that you can get started here. Right, okay. So when you come on the screen, let's say, right now, I can use it as any other chat application as such, like any other Gen AI based chat application. So let's say if I get started about, you know what cricket events happened last year. Let's add what major cricket events happened last year. All right. uh I'll hit run. uh okay, let's try this. What major cricket events happened in 2023? This looks prominently okay. I'm not a cricket person, but yeah. So two things here, right? One, I can play around. I can test the prompt input and output here. Right. Second, I think the responses are supremely fast, right? Like I was able to get this response back in 2.7 seconds. To share, I am using a Gemini 1.5 Flash model. Let's say if I switch to Pro, the amount of time taken would increase, but so would the cost. So that is the difference between those two models. Let's say if I, send something here, uh, right? So the amount of time that it has taken has increased. uh, but you get a decent response output back. One more thing that I wanted to point out, if you see here with, say, Flash, the token limit is for 1 million tokens, which is in itself a big deal. But let's say you go to something like Pro, now you have 2 million tokens, which means that if I were to insert media here, right, if I, let's say, insert a sample media, a full, say, 44-minute video, uh, right? Let's say I do this, add to prompt. uh, what are some of the most interesting moments in this movie that I can use for creating a sensational trailer? Give start and end times in JSON format along with the uh, reasoning on why you think these timestamps are most appropriate for our use case. All right. Let's run this. This should definitely take a lot more tokens. So this is about say 500,000 tokens here, right? And yeah, I think another 1,000 tokens that it is considering here. So if I pass this, now you see, when I, at least when I was younger or back in my days when I was starting my career, I would imagine a technology like this that could watch an entire movie and give me responses based on that. uh, right, and this is what is happening here, right? It's taking about a minute to go through an entire movie scene by scene, right, and extracting the response that I want. Right now I can simply, I can get a response back, and I can work with this thing, right? So let's just wait for the response. Maybe, we can make this whole experience a lot better. Yeah, that's decent enough time. I think it'll take about 90 to 120 seconds. uh, that we should have a good response back. You see, so great, right? It took about 116 seconds using the pro model, right? And I was able to get decent responses back. Let's say if I were to repeat this prompt, let's say I'll just copy or duplicate this prompt. Is there an option? Okay, no. Okay, I'll just copy this prompt, and I'll, let's say, change the model to say Flash. I just want to show two things here. One, that this in itself is great that I was able to get a response back. Uh, uh, by sending a 44 minute long movie that the AI was able to process in one shot, right? It has given me a reasonable response back from what timestamp to what timestamp can I take, and I can simply take this timestamp as a response or an input for something like a movie pie or any other movie editing application, or library that I can edit. I can create movie editing software on the fly using all the tools that I have. I have this reasoning. So one, Gemini itself is multimodal, right? And you can get started with things like these that absolutely enhance the overall experience of the user. The user can understand their whole world better. The model understands the user better. So in return, you're able to offer better and more far-fetched experiences that were otherwise not possible before. The second thing that I want to show, and why do I want to run this again here, is that even though, let's say, something called as a Flash, a Gemini 1.5 Flash, oh, it exceeded the token window. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, let's try this. Let's add another video. I think this one was too tad bit too long for. Uh, yeah, okay, I know what's happening here. Uh, let's say let's go to a new prompt. Right. Yeah. So what I was saying was that even if something such as, let's say, a Gemini 1.5 Flash, is say 1/10 the price of what Gemini 1.5 Pro is, it is still multimodal in nature. So you can add text, video, and text, video, audio, and images as part of the same prompt and send it to the model. The model will process them as whole as a cohesive input and give you a response back. Right. So again, it takes about 696,000 tokens here, and then some tokens of the text that we have here, right? And now I can run this, right? Now it is only taking about 696. The reason that it was not working before was because, usually how these models tend to work is, specifically in the chat application, that entire history of the chat is passed back as an input to the next prompt. So for example, what was happening was that we were sending this video twice back to the model to process it, right? Which means that we're anyway consuming about more than 2 million tokens, about say 1.4 million tokens here already, right? uh, so see, this is the difference. While it is still multimodal, it was able to process it, right? It was able to process it, but it did not, uh, yeah, it was able to process it, but it did not, yeah, okay, I think my response was bad. uh, yeah, anyway, I think we understand the context. Let's say, yeah, let's try it again one more time. What are some of the most interesting prompts? Sample media. Okay, add to prompt and run. Yeah, what I was telling earlier was that, one, again, a flash at even a lower cost is able to process the model. It can still take in images, it can still take in audio, it can still understand the whole context of what is happening around, right? And on the second front, it is also much faster. So if you notice, the previous response time came back in just about, say, 40 seconds or so. So, it may not be as accurate as the pro would be, but it offers decent, you know yeah, but it offers decent response back, right? So again, depending on your cost to performance ratio, you can optimize your model's availability and, kind of feature set that it offers, and kind of experiences that users would want of it. So see, again, similar response back, and you are able to, process it at a much lower cost, still taking the complete advantage of the million long context window, right? The model is still able to watch the movie and process it. So yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, quite far-fetched, right? I can also give it enough instructions to say, just give me a prompt for, let's say, up to a maximum of 30 seconds. Say, for example, if I were to give, up to a maximum of 30 seconds, it would still do it. How do you run this thing? Yeah. Yes, so this time we have a much shorter response because we were able to find, and you can tune your prompts so far, as long as detailed that you want them to be. Right. This I think is one of the better features. At a much lower cost, you get to run like a complete full-fledged model. You have options such as token that you can adjust here, right? So it ranges from 0 to 2 for a 1.5 series of models, both Flash and Pro. You have things such as, you can have it in JSON mode, so there is output response will be in JSON mode. You can have it as code execution, so if you have code, it can do code execution. And you can also do function calling, where you can create functions and it calls an external function and then derives information from out of that, right? Second, you can also set here safety settings, so you can edit safety settings, the kind of, uh, settings that you want. So you can go around, say, harassment, hate, sexually explicit content, and dangerous content. You can tune that. Output limit 8192 is maximum as of today. Right. So even though the input window is about a million or a 2 million long, depending on the model, the output token window is still capped at 8192. So all this response that you have received will always be under the 8192 token window, right? And then you have models such as top K and top P that decide that how does a model prioritize certain aspects, when giving out the next word or the next pair of sentences. Uh, so yeah, this is not available for the Flash model, but I think this is available for Pro. Okay, it's not. It's available for one. Uh, it's available for one. Uh, Again, one more thing that I wanted to show. After all this that we have done so far, you can go on to and click on this button called Get Code, right? And all of this is readily available right here, right? So for example, our temperature is one, it is showing temperature as one. It is also showing us our top P, top K values, everything is coming out as we put in there, right? And it just gave us the code. You can simply copy this code. You can straight up copy this code using this button here, and then go to any IDE and run this code for yourself. uh, Another thing that you can do is that, you get ready-made code for for all other languages as well. So you have JavaScript, you have something as Go, right? Even if you are a mobile developer, you have in Kotlin. uh, it's available for Swift, right? And it's also available for Dart. So any Flutter developers, any native mobile app developers, any iOS developers, any backend developers, it's very simple to get started with the model. I'll show a couple of things later on, but this I think establishes the context of where we are at and things that we're trying to work with. uh, yeah, personally, I it's very impressive for me how far the technology has come, and this is possibly the easiest way for us to get started and continue to leverage it in our daily workflows. Uh, all right, we have this. Then there is this type of prompt that I wanted to show, which is, say, a structured prompt, which is that, I give my prompt, say, two input values, right? So this is where I just give it an example that, if there are two inputs, iPhone, and the input, another input is that I can't use my emails and password in Chrome. Right, the input should be, the output should be authentication. This is yeah, this is wrong. The output should be authentication, like the category that it thinks. And again, the output should be, uh, you know like one of the first responses that an AI can give, that have you checked you are logged into Chrome with your Google account, right? So let's say if I'm using an iPhone and if I have this problem, the AI is able to classify where do I land in this spectrum with regards to, say, authentication. Is it an authentication issue, or what kind of issue is it? Right, and I have this drafted. Uh, Actually, let me just show. Let's say if I go to, so for this I can go to, let's just run this. Let's just run this, right? Okay. uh so iPhone, two inputs. Android, again some input, some output. Let's say my apps aren't syncing between my Android devices. It could be again an authentication issue, right? Again, iPhone, the issue and classification, and the output back. Uh, Now, let's say if I give it three inputs, right, and output one. Uh, yeah, if I give it three inputs, uh, right, it should be able to provide me with the relevant responses and outputs that I should get with these three issues. So, for example, iPhone, Android, and iPhone. Uh, right. So again. Right, so I'm able to get a response back, and the first thing. So for example, if I as an iPhone user file that I have a problem seeing videos on YouTube while traveling and I can't log into Chrome at the moment, there seems to be an issue with your, please check your internet, and please check your internet connection and try again, right? And similar could be, let's say, for an Android. On Android, I saw a video complaining it was not available. Please provide the video link so I can assist you further. You can also change this with, say, a model such as Pro, right? And I can run this back, right? I'll get different responses, but these are decent responses, right? So that is one way to tune a model. What we were doing previously, let's say when we ran the video in the first run, where we processed it using Pro and produced a complete output, we did not control it. And I think in the second output, we asked it to control the amount of output seconds that it should give, and we capped it at 30 seconds. We are essentially fine tuning the prompt responses for our model, and we are, and this is one of the ways that you can fine tune, right? So you're providing an example input and an example output to your model. This is again, and this is just a way to visualize this, right? And you here you're simply fine tuning. So it's like one of the easiest and the most low cost ways to fine tune your model responses back. So you have an input and you have an example output. This is this is essentially what you call a few shot learning. All right, so yeah, what I can do from here, I can add this back. So I can move this iPhone from from here to here. Now I have this response here, right? Let's say if I like this answer again, I can add this again. Now I have only one. Now I can run this. So this way I can cut. Now you see I have a different response. Now I have a different response that I work with, uh, and this way I can continue to fine tune my inputs and outputs back. Again, the same set of configurations are available with, say, what kind of model do I have, what kind of you know uh, input output settings can I have. I can control the temperature and everything. uh, but again, if you, let's say, go to get code, let's switch to a language such as Python. I, it's just easier, right? So again, right, I'm giving this as an input. So everything that you saw previously written as text has been converted to an input, right? So has been converted to a form of text, right? So the model is reading this as a whole. So when it arrives at this position, right, input one, and there is nothing against it, that is where it is printing the response, which is where what we get back. Right, again, all of these things are controllable. Temperature is 0.85, temperature is 0.85, everything is generated in real time. Again, you can go copy your code. Uh, yeah, you can go copy your code and start running this application as is. It only requires this just one package. I think we'll deep dive into the code aspect a bit later, but this is something that I want to show. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it for you to get started. There's just one more thing that I wanted to show from the console side, and then maybe I think we'll proceed ahead to show more code. So let's say, I'll just leave this. Let's say I go to chat prompt. This is nothing, this is just another free form prompt, right? But in this case, I have simply given a system instruction, right? And the system instruction is that you are a diehard football fanatic, flowing with passion and enthusiasm for for the beautiful game. You live. So this is about how a model would respond if it were given a personality. Let's say you were creating a chat app, right? Let's say, explain how do quantum computers work. So you see, uh, again, right? So it's as basic as, explain how a quantum computer works, but because the system instruction gives it a personality, the responses are coming in the context of football. Maybe, just for fun, you just switch this model up, and either way, yeah, okay, rerun. So you see, because we have given it a personality, it's working. It's working that way. Uh, Great. Let's try something different. Uh, let's try another personality. Um, who should we try? Uh, okay, let's do for art. Yeah, let's try it with something interesting. Let's do an art movie director, right? So, we are just doing an art film director. Let's rerun this. So you see, the responses change, right, basis the personality that you get, and this can be as simple. This is a system instruction that the model follows. So this will always be kept into, regard. Now let's say if I ask, because this is a system instruction, this will always stay. Now let's say I can go on with, you know, how analog computers work. Right. So again, I can continue to ask more questions, and the response will always be how a art director would think of it, or how a art director would narrate it, right? So even if I were to say, let's say something like, why is Node.js so popular? Yeah, again, so it just continues to go on that way. I can increase the temperature for more, you know interesting responses. So if let's say if I run this, uh, you risk hallucination with higher temperatures. But again, depending on the use cases, let's say you specifically want the model to be more creative. I think I generally tend to go for more higher temperatures. Uh, yeah, this looks nice, right? Um okay. Uh, that's all for from the console standpoint. I hope I was able to do the justice to this. I will just present something else now. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to show one more thing before I move on to showing the other piece of code that I have. So if I go to say new tune model, so you remember the iPhone and Android use case that I was showing? You can simply go here. You can go here to new tune model. You can go to create a structured prompt, right? And you can continue to add inputs and outputs. You can go to action. You can add an input column. You can add an output column, right? You can import example. You can export examples, right? So it can take in CSVs or Google Sheets, right? You can convert an input to an output, or an output to an input, right? Things can go on in different ways. And I mean, there's just some configuration that you can do, right? And you can, you know, add it. So basically, this then becomes like the context on how a model works. Second thing is that you can go to so I think I saw a question in the chat, which is how we can use your own knowledge base to these prompts. I think this is the most easiest way anyone can get started, right? So just add your inputs as CSV, as a comma separated value, right? And you will get something like, a get code, input out, input one, input two, and then output, and then uh, you ask the model to generate response basis the context that it has been provided. Yeah, and then second thing that you can go is, you can create a tuned model. So you can create your own data source. So let's say structured prompt. Again, it can take in my model. It can take in structured prompt, uh, right? And yeah, this says that there is a limitation that there need to be at least 20 model, but then I can provide my own model to for it to fine tune it. So basically what it will do, it is that it will learn, the model will learn from my values, and without me having to provide context every time, or just because I can tune my model, it will uplift values for certain parameters in the model so that the outputs align more towards my goals and not what the base model has learned in its training data set. uh, so yeah, that's about it. So you get something like, samples such as a summarization model, which has about 50 inputs and outputs, uh, you know, and it is basically summarizing, uh, it is summarizing text, or transcriptions. It is summarizing transcriptions, uh, right? And I can invoke this model to get an output, better output back. There was this one, and all this is all it takes, right? You can choose what you want, or I can import a sample data set from, say, my drive, or anything recent, or anything that I have. uh, I can import values from my drive, and then I can go to, say, uh, I can fetch values, and I can simply start tuning, right? So the tuning is available for these, for pro and for 1.5 flash. And you can choose the number of epochs that you can go to. You can choose the running rate multiplier. You can choose the batch size, right? And once you have a tuned model back, it will be available under this section, right? So your model will be available here. uh, I had applied this for tuning, but this is in progress. I think it'll take about a day or two for my model to get back. But I will have this model such as a tune model, a sample tune model, and this will show in my uh, model directory that I have here. That's it. That's all that you have from an AI studio standpoint. uh, there's just couple of, you know Now I think we'll move towards the code part, the code element. I think I've already shown some code that you get, vanilla code that you get out of the box uh, when you start, so you can simply copy and get started. But I think I'll just stop sharing once. uh, okay. Okay, I hope this is visible. Great. So all you need to get started with this is this four lines of code: one, two, three, and four. Right? You import the uh, module, you instantiate your model, and you ask the model to generate content. Then you return the response. Right? It is as basic as it can get. All I have done here is I have gotten my API key from this thing. I went to get API key, click create API key. I choose my Google Cloud project, uh, right? And I choose my Google Cloud project, and I get an API key back, right? I'll not copy this because I already have one running, right? But right, and all I have to do is just print this API key. So let's say, just export this API key. So if I just show you API underscore key, so I have this key already here, uh, right? Okay, great. Uh, so the model essentially reads this, but then there is another config that you can add here as part of the model, right? So you can just add these two lines of code to make this run, right? So you can do an import OS and just configure your API key explicitly using an environment variable or a secret, or howsoever you want to refer this, right? So this piece of code will get you that, right? So genai.configure API key.os.environment, right? So this will run as is. uh, all right, now if I were to run this, the prompt is say hi to Daily. I get a response back, hi Daily, right? I can change and tune the model, but that is all I get. uh, the second piece about this is that, let's say I can, then there are just a lot of these iterations about the same thing, but it's good to understand how things are working. So again, this is a prompt where, I can provide an input, uh, right? I can provide an input as a prompt, just a good way to show that how you can make this interactive. And say, uh, what are some of the easiest uh, items to learn when I am starting to bake? So I get this response back, right? Like, so just an iteration over the previous thing, nothing fancy. I'm just taking an input here. uh, in the second piece here, now uh, in the second piece here, what I have done is that I'm streaming responses back. So I'm, for every chunk, I am printing a response back on what I want. So the different the so along with generate content, where I had this prompt. Now prompt is part of a variable. I'm also setting this as stream is equal to true. So I'll continue to get response back. You can do it two ways. So you can also do it an async prompt, right? So let's say, what is Python one of the easiest languages to learn. Right, so now I am also getting a response back in form of every chunk. Now again, right, you could see that it is streaming response back to the CLI, and for every chunk that it had, every line that you see here, it is another chunk that it gave as an output back. Right, so that it's another one of those interesting things that you can work with. Now this is where things start getting really interesting with, say, multimodality. I can this is just another same thing, same context, same configuration. Things just continue to get more advanced. Nothing changes. Let's say if I change this to this and I change this, uh, right, I have an image. It's an older image, uh, right, and the prompt is that generate text based on that image. The prompt is the image, right, and the model just prints response back on basis that. uh, I'll run this. These are just the outputs that so this is an image, this is an older image that I have. Yeah, so it is able to clearly identify that there's a man standing behind a podium, presenting at Google Cloud Community Day 2023. We have the Google Cloud Community Day 2024 just happening tomorrow in Delhi. Looking forward to seeing much of the audience there. uh, Again, this is right, so again the same image, different version of the model. uh, it has a text input to it, right, that it will process the model along with it. And also now I'm able to set safety settings, so I'm able to define the configuration that I should be able to use, right? So there's a lot of configuration things that can go as part of the same input. I'll not go on each iteration, I just wanted to show this stuff. Right, now this is something that I can start a chat application. uh, I can start a chat application as is. So it is again as friendly as it can get. uh, Again, import the module, instantiate the module, and just call this function called start chat. We set the history array as 0, right, and then it begins chat. uh, then I can start sending it prompt, and with every message, when I send it, call the function set message, every prompt is then added. Right now, because I'm using the chat function, uh, every output that the model presents and every input. So let's say if I say hi, the model says hi, and then I say model, tell to the model how are you. The fourth response or the fourth input for the model to predict output would be again hi and how are you. Right, so so all these three statements will go back to the model. This is how generally any chat application works, which is why the first scenario when we were doing that Buster Keaton movie, our token count suddenly went out of the bucket because uh, we were passing in two context, two 600,000 or 700,000 long token window in just one input prompt that Gemini 1.5 Flash does not support. uh, Pro would have handled it better because it's a 2 million long context window. So yeah, right, again, you have a chat application here. uh, this is again a chat application that says that do you want to continue. uh, it just continues to go on. So this is a chat application that you can have running in your browser, or on your local machine as long as you want to go. So say something such as a hi. The model says, hi there, what can I help you with today? I say, do I want to continue chatting? Yes, this is just from a UX standpoint that you can change some of this stuff. uh it's nice. I hope some of this stuff is visible. uh right, I'm just trying to be I hope some of this stuff is visible. People are not losing out on vision. So yeah, this chat will continue to go on as long as I continue to send prompts, right? Uh, I have something here that says count tokens, and yeah, just some stuff. Again, as part of the same API, what you can do is change your embeddings. So I'm using a model for embedding, which is embedding 001. Right, I can change the title, and I can give it a task type. So depending on the task type, my embeddings can change. This is a retrieval document, uh, right? But in this case, I'm also able to pass in, uh, so that was the retrieval. I am able to pass in multiple inputs in this case, right? So I get like different embeddings for like different questions and different responses. In this case, my task type has changed from retrieval to clustering. Again, in this scenario, my embeddings would change. What having an embedding model in the SDK does is that it will give you a much wider view on, or much wider control on, how do you want a model to respond to your question. So if you want like something different, right, you can provide a different embedding model, or you can change the task type to provide the kind of responses that you would otherwise expect of the model. uh, yeah, again, this case, task type has changed. You're generating a text embedding, right, and you're also printing the embedding vectors back. So again, similar stuff, but you know, last of these is how a chat application works essentially. So the start chat button is just a wrapper around. So the API that we discovered so far, right, this has been much simplified because there are these underlying elements that we did not. So we were doing Google.generative AI as Gen AI. The actual model is Google.ai.generative language, right? And this thing is essentially a wrapper on top of what you get here, right? So for much more level detail, for a lot more control and detail in how the model responds and works, and if you really want to get into the nitty gritties of this, we provide you lower level controls as part of the SDK baked in. uh, yeah, that's about it. Just one last thing that I wanted to show, and I find this is really interesting, is that if I say comment this out, which is Google.generative AI as Gen AI, right? If I comment this out, and if I uncomment this, which is Vertex AI.generative models as Gen AI, right? This thing still works, right? And the reason is that the way that we have drafted this API, right, both the SDKs. So let's say as a developer, you start building this application, and soon your application scales. Now you want more control over your data, you want more granular control over your security, you want to bring in your own data to elevate the model to a different level, you want a complete fine controlled pipeline around how a model is served, right? The recommendation is that you move from Google AI Studio to Vertex AI, right? And you don't even have to change like a lot of code. So as you can see, I just commented one line of code, and uncommented the other, and I'm able to get the response back. So this is one of the better features of working with this whole ecosystem, is that you can get started as a user at gemini.google.com. You can start developing at aistudio.google.com, and you can scale it to enterprise at console.cloud.google.com. So right, so it's an entire complete workflow for you as a user, as a developer, as an uh, let's say, with a business use case, go to a complete full scale cloud platform that will provide you everything that you need to you know clean your data, tune your model, run your model, evaluate your model, add explainable AI to your model, right? Scale your model, do a A/B testing. So there's a lot that Vertex AI will open doors for you. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I had. I think I'll just stop sharing. Uh, okay. I'll just take on a couple of questions. How can we use our knowledge base to these prompts? Like we have given access to our drive. So how do we take reference of data from? Two ways possible. One, that we showed, you can import your data to uh, you can import your data to Google AI Studio, right? And the API will have enough integrations that you can work with it, right? The second way, of course, is to go the cloud way if the model has scaled enough, or if your if the model has scaled enough, or if there's enough demand, and you want to add more connectors to it. So not just drive, you want to add, let's say, a cloud SQL database, which is a MySQL and Post. It's a managed database. You want to get data from a data warehousing solution such as BigQuery, right? You want to say get data from, if you have a Firebase application, you want to get data from Firestore. So uh, it can get data from everywhere, but again, depending on the scale. From an AI Studio standpoint, you can bring in CSVs and your data, or either just pass in the prompts as I mentioned. So you can even pass it as JSON inputs. So that would work. Yeah. Okay, what is multimodal? Okay, so the simplest way to put around this is that for the longest, the inputs and outputs that a model would process would be only in a singular modality, which means that usually, let's say, when you say that I am an AI engineer 5 years ago, you're either working on NLP, which is that you're working with a lot of audio data. You could either be simply be working with video data. Uh, you could be, for even the most simpler use cases such as sentiment analysis, you would be working with, say, text data. Multimodality, specifically in Gen AI, has a lot of advantages, wherein you can ask a single model to process audio, video, text, and images in the same prompt. So that is the benefit that you get. Why this is important is because the world around us is multimodal, right? Like, for example, I am speaking to you, you are hearing me, right? You're able to see me, uh, right? And I was showing a lot of text, right? So the world around us is multimodal. Having a multimodal input and output format, not output exactly, but having the model to be able to understand multimodality, like different types of content such as text, audio, video, and images in the same setting, helps the model to understand your world better. So right, so the model sees things the way a human sees things, and that is why, multimodality becomes important. That is what multimodal is: the ability for a model to uh, process different modalities in a single input. Okay. Yeah, structured prompt is interesting, quite useful in categorizing chat and feedback of customers. Can you give us more context on the same? Yeah. So as I showed, there are two. There's at a technical level, or at least at an SDK level, right? If you were to look at it, there is nothing such as a structured prompt. Uh, it's a way for you to get started, right? It's a way for you to get started. Uh, yeah. Which means, so for example, when I was showing that, when in the get code piece of structured prompt, there was no table as such, right? It was just input, output, and two inputs, two expected outputs, two inputs, two expected outputs, right? And finally we just kept the last input and output as empty and asked the model to fill in for us. So that is what you can do. This is called few shot learning, essentially, which is where the model learns that the kind of responses that you would otherwise want, right? And you get these responses back. uh, yeah, that's about it. Right, so let's say, yeah, I mean, that's about it. So the model learns the kind of outputs that are expected and valid. It just tries to tune and predict, or give the statements and responses back in a similar way. Yeah. Okay. Can we code in Java also with Gen AI? Yeah, interestingly, you can. I think because Kotlin, I'm not wrong, right? Like Kotlin, a lot of Kotlin is just like Java reformatted, you know. So yeah, I mean Kotlin is supported. So like a lot, you can do Java, you can, but for like something such as pure Java, I maybe I just present my screen again. Just give it a minute. So again, this was the project that I was running. This is the Google Cloud Console. But the easiest way that I can show you that you can run code in Java is that you go here, like you get code similar to how you were doing it earlier, right? And you go just go to Java and you have a running code here, right? So you can also do it with Java, like as simple as that. uh, right, and when like all a lot of what we were doing previously is available here as well. So again, free form and chat and stuff like that, right? A lot of that is available, but it's only once you reach that point. Are the response streamable so that the user don't have to wait for full response? Yes, I think I showed one of the inputs. I think I showed one of the inputs that you can set the value of stream is equal to true to get streaming responses back. Uh, can I code in Erlang? I don't think, I am not sure. But the easiest way to get started would be using a REST API. So we do provide REST API for doing this. So any HTTP client on uh, in Erlang that can authenticate. Uh, we have enough, from Google standpoint. Uh, you know, we have enough. We provide an API endpoint that you can send your requests to. So it's not an SDK as such. You can still write your code in Erlang, but for authentication, authorization, and just from a functionality standpoint, uh, there's you don't get those, but you do get API endpoints that you can send requests to. uh, what are the prerequisites to get started working on this? I hope everyone signed up on the QR code that was shared in the beginning. That is the only prerequisite in all. Right, just go to the code, just get started, right? I mean, this is possibly the easiest way to get started. I mean, and it's no different for me than it is for you. So even for me, I just go to aistudio.google.com, get an API key, start developing, right? Get an API key, copy code, start developing, build anything and everything you want. You know, I supremely look forward to new solutions that come out of uh, these new innovative technologies. I think it's always great to see what people are building. Uh, okay, what's the key difference between training models on Vertex AI compared to other platforms? Um, I am not sure which other platforms are we speaking of. But from a Vertex AI standpoint, it is Google's end-to-end stack offering. So you get uh, so Vertex AI is Google's end-to-end offering. With we provide you the hardware that you need to train your models to the something called as a model garden, where you get models that you can models from Google as well as other companies such as Meta or Anthropic that you can use as part of your workflow. And then we also provide tools that you can use to fine tune your model or add more data to your or add more value to your model. Uh, yeah, uh, I mean it's a complete end-to-end AI pipeline platform. Like you can do your ML ops, anything related to AI. I think Vertex supports it out of the box. So yeah. Uh, so can we contribute Dialogflow CX with Google AI Studio, or do we not need Dialogflow? Yeah, I mean, you can. Dialogflow does support API endpoints, right? You can pull in your own model from AI Studio and leverage it, right? If you want to augment it, head to Vertex AI. That will give you like even better responses. So, yeah, again, both of these are two different use cases. The way you need, dialog flow is a lot more elaborate in terms of uh, model to user interaction. So yeah, uh, you can essentially bring in AI. Can we get your LinkedIn ID? Yeah, no. I mean, I'm as inactive on LinkedIn as anything. I don't use LinkedIn. I mean, I generally don't use social media at all. So yeah, sorry for that. But yeah, drop me an email at pranananda@google.com. I normally respond back. Mm, Very classic that way. Yeah, that's about it. Any more questions? Happy to entertain. And really look forward to what people build. I hope this was helpful. Uh, yeah, and please reach back if you are coming to the cloud community day tomorrow. I'll see you there.
Yep. Thanks, Pranay, for the session. I think like most of the questions definitely got answered. Our team flagged them on the fly. So yeah, thanks again, Pranay, for taking up this session, out of your calendar, and helping the builders get started. I also personally got to learn a few more things about AI Studio and everything. And I think like for people who were asking regarding like the prerequisite to start working on this, it's exactly what Pranay said. Just sign up for the hackathon. The hackathon is inviting everyone, even if you are new here. There is a dedicated Get Started Here tab on the main website. The team can internally send the website link again on the YouTube live stream chat. And yeah, from there, you can just sign up. You'll get all the instructions on what's next, all relevant info, all requirements, challenges, everything is already there on the website. So yeah, with that, would like to say never stop building and wishing everyone all the very best for the Gen AI Exchange Hackathon. Thank you, Pranay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in.